US's secret documents spill the beans. The Bush-Putin chats on Pakistan. The 16th June 2001 Slovenia meeting. Pak is just a junta with nukes. Why Putin was worried about Pakistan's nuclear weapons.
Welcome back. I'm concerned about Pakistan. It is just a junta with nuclear weapons. This is what the Russian President Vladimir Putin said to then US President George Bush during a personal meeting with him on the 16th of June 2001 in Slovenia. Hello and welcome. You're watching NewsX Explained. I'm Uday Pratap Singh. These lines I just quoted are not taken from some conspiracy theorists or alleged sources. These come from the horse's mouth. The National Security Archive has released verbatim transcripts of Vladimir Putin's meetings and telephone calls with US President George W. Bush from 2001 to 2008 to the public on the 22nd of December as a result of a Freedom of Information lawsuit. The National Security Archive published the most consequential Putin-Bush conversations from 2001, 2005 and their last meeting in 2008. Founded in 1985, the National Security Archive is a non-profit research and archival institution located at the George Washington University in Washington, and the transcripts released by them are credible. Out of the 3 transcripts released, Pakistan nukes have been mentioned in 2 of them, once on the 16th of June 2001 during Bush and Putin's first personal meeting at the Brno Castle in Slovenia, and the second time on the 16th of September 2005 during their meeting in the Oval Office for a plenary that covers mainly issues of non-proliferation and US-Russian cooperation on Iran and North Korea. Let's have a look at these 2 chats between world leaders Bush and Putin. In the 2001 conversation, Russian President Putin said he is concerned about Pakistan, which is just a junta with nuclear weapons. It is no democracy, yet the West makes no criticism of it. He added that Bush should talk about it. The second mention comes in 2005, where the presidents were talking about Iran and its nuclear enrichment plans. Putin mentions that uranium of Pakistani origin was found in Iran's centrifuges. To this, President Bush acknowledges that material discovered in Iranian centrifuges that had not been voluntarily disclosed to the IAEA was a violation, and he agreed such discoveries made both the US and Russia nervous. In essence, he validated the core of Putin's point that Pakistan's nuclear program could not be viewed as a stable or fully accountable entity, and he openly recognized that this was a region worth watching very carefully. Let's decode these statements on the basis of what was going on in the world at that time. Well, Pakistan became a declared nuclear weapon state in May 1998 after it conducted a series of underground nuclear tests in the Chagai Hills of Baluchistan. These tests took place on the 28th of May and the 30th of May and were announced publicly by PM Nawaz Sharif. They come in direct response to India's nuclear tests earlier that month and marked the formal entry of Pakistan into the group of states possessing nuclear arms. In June 2001, Pakistan was under military rule. General Pervez Musharraf, the army chief, had seized power in a bloodless coup in October 1999 after ousting Prime Minister Nawaz Sharif. By mid-2001, Musharraf was serving as the country's chief executive, exercising direct control of the government with the military at the core of political authority. There was no fully functioning democratic system in place, and civilian political parties had limited power. In June 2001, specifically, Musharraf also formally assumed the title of president, replacing Rafiq Tarar. This further consolidated his personal and military control over the state. It was in this context that Vladimir Putin referred to Pakistan as a junta with nuclear weapons in his conversation with US President George W. Bush, highlighting the fact that a non-democratic military regime was in charge of a nuclear-armed nation. George Bush's reaction to Putin was defensive for a reason. Look at this article published in 1998 by the New York Times that is titled as US and China helped Pakistan build its bomb. Pakistan's efforts to build the bomb began in the 1950s under the Atoms for Peace program. The US agreed to train Pakistan scientists in nuclear reactor technology. Washington also provided Pak's first research reactor and fuel. The training continued until 1972. India tested a nuclear weapon in 1974, and Pakistan greatly intensified its efforts in response. The program was closely monitored by the US military, intelligence and law enforcement services, so closely that President Jimmy Carter cut off all military and economic aid to Pakistan in April 1979. Citing US laws aimed at stopping the spread of nuclear weapons, that decision was reversed 9 months later after the Soviet Union invaded Afghanistan, which lies on Pakistan's border. Pak's military ruler, General Mohammad Zia-ul-Haq, agreed to smuggle weapons to the Afghans on behalf of the CIA. Suddenly, Pakistan was the recipient of a 6-year, $3.2 billion American aid package, half cash, half high-tech weapons. America kept playing the hot and cold game with Pakistan until Pak finally tested the nukes in 1998. Putin's conversation with Bush takes place against the backdrop of Pak's successful nuclear tests and the perception that the United States indirectly enabled Islamabad's nuclear ambitions. Putin appeared clearly concerned that the West shows little alarm over a military-ruled Pakistan possessing nuclear weapons. The second transcript is dated 2005. Both the leaders are discussing Pak under military ruler Pervez Musharraf as a major non-proliferation headache. Bush mentioned two things, one about Abdul Qadir Khan and the other about the IAEA. A.Q. Khan was a Pakistani nuclear physicist and a metallurgical engineer. He is colloquially known as the father of Pak's atomic weapons program. In January 2004, Khan was subjected to a debriefing by the Musharraf administration over evidence of a nuclear proliferation network selling to Iran, North Korea, Libya and others, handed to them by the Bush administration of the United States. Khan admitted his role in running this network. Khan was accused of selling nuclear secrets illegally and was put under house arrest in 2004. The backdrop of the 2005 conversation is that both leaders were deeply concerned about nuclear security and proliferation in the post-9/11 world. The United States was leading the war on terror, and Russia too faced Islamist terror threats and instability near its borders. Both countries wanted to ensure that nuclear weapons or sensitive technology never ended up with extremist groups. This is where the IAEA and Pakistan enter the picture. First, the role of the IAEA was central to how the West managed global nuclear risks. The IAEA monitored nuclear programs in countries that were part of the Non-Proliferation Treaty, but Pakistan was outside the NPT, which means the IAEA could not fully monitor or inspect its program the way it did in other countries. Although Iran was part of the NPT, it did not disclose its plans. It's clear then that America's stance of Pakistan having nukes has changed throughout the years. US's response to Pak's nuclear capabilities depended on strategic need for Pakistan. After Pak tested nuclear devices in 1998, Washington imposed sanctions, but these were later eased as counter-terrorism priorities took over after 9/11. Since then, the US approach has been built around a single goal, ensuring that Pak's nuclear arsenal remains secure. American policymakers have consistently expressed confidence in Pak's command and control structure in public, even while privately voicing concerns about extremism and political instability. Even Trump's recent remarks in an interview with CBS, where he says that Pakistan has been testing nuclear weapons, show that US is reluctant to look in that direction. In conclusion, while the US has at times been perceived to be lenient towards Pak's nuclear ambitions, Russia and Putin have always been flagging Pakistan's negligent behavior, mirroring what India is concerned about.
US's secret documents spill the beans. The Bush-Putin chats on Pakistan. The 16th June 2001 Slovenia meeting. Pak is just a junta with nukes. Why Putin was worried about Pakistan's nuclear weapons.